Okay, so this week is, wow, it's a really busy one for the Indian stock market. We've got four different companies all launching their IPOs at the same time. Now, that's a huge opportunity, but it's also a real puzzle for investors, right? So let's dive in and see if we can solve it. This is the big question, isn't it? If you can't throw money at everything, how do you pick the winner? How do you choose the best bet? We're going to break this all down using some fantastic expert analysis from Asta Jain of Heme Securities to give you a clear, prioritized game plan.
So, what's the big deal? What makes this week's situation so tricky? It all comes down to one thing: timing.
Think of it like a massive IPO traffic jam. All four of these companies open for subscription and close their doors on the exact same days. Now, what that means for you is that you can't just wait and see how one IPO does before deciding on the next one. Nope. You've got to make all of your choices and rank your priorities right from the get-go. So, who are the players in this game? Let's meet the four companies that are all competing for your investment this week. All right, we have Vikram Solar, a major player in the green energy space. Then there's Jem Aromatics, a specialty chemicals firm. We've also got Patel Retail, which is a growing name in retail and food processing. And finally, Shri Shipping Global, a logistics company with a bit of a twist. Four very different businesses, all asking for your attention at the same time. Okay, now for the main event. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty. We're going to dig into each of these companies one by one and see what the expert analysis reveals about their strengths and their weaknesses. First up is Vikram Solar. Now, these guys are one of India's biggest manufacturers of photovoltaic modules, solar panels. And with a massive issue size of around 2,000 crore rupees, it's definitely the heavyweight in this group.
And here's the deal with Vikram Solar. The industry it's in, it's absolutely red hot. Solar has huge government backing right now. The company also has this massive 10-gigawatt order book and is focused squarely on the domestic market, which means it doesn't really have to worry about export risks. But, and there's always a but, isn't there, the valuation is a little on the pricey side compared to its competitors. So, the expert view is that this is a really solid long-term play, even if the initial pop on listing day isn't huge.
Let's move on to our next contender, Jem Aromatics. They make specialty ingredients and chemicals that go into things we use every day, like essential oils and food packaging. They're a key supplier to the big FMCG sector. Now, this one is a classic trade-off for investors. On one hand, the good news is that the pricing looks pretty fair when you compare it to other companies in the same space. But on the other hand, the business is tied to commodity prices, like Mintha oil, and those prices can swing all over the place. That means their profitability could be a bit unpredictable. So while the expert does recommend subscribing, the expectation is for a limited, not a massive gain at listing. Our third IPO is Patel Retail. Now you might see the brand name Patel's Mart and think, okay, it's a retail store. But that is only half the story. They also have a pretty significant food processing business. And this chart really tells you everything you need to know. Look at that split. It's almost 50-50 between their retail stores and their non-retail operations, things like grinding spices and flour. And that's the key to understanding this company. It's this diversified model that helps explain why its valuation, a price-to-earnings multiple of 26, is considered pretty reasonable. It's not like those pure-play retail giants with sky-high multiples. And finally, we have Shri Shipping Global. This is a much smaller issue, coming in at just 40 crore rupees. They handle shipping and logistics for dry cargo, operating in Indian ports, and even in Sri Lanka. Now, don't let the small size fool you. According to the expert, this little company really punches above its weight. It's got a unique niche and some seriously impressive financials. But here's a really key detail. The entire IPO is a fresh issue. That means every single rupee raised goes directly into the company to fuel its growth, not to exiting shareholders. That is a very strong signal about their future plans. And let's just pause on this number for a second. A return on equity of 40%? That is, wow, that is exceptionally high, and it's one of the key things that really caught the analyst's eye. It basically means the company is incredibly efficient at making profits from the money its shareholders have invested. Okay, we've reviewed all four contenders. Now, for the moment of truth, we're going to reveal the expert's final ranking for an investor who has to make a choice. Let's go back to the question we started with. If you have to prioritize, if you have limited cash, where should your money go first? All right, here is the final ranking. The number one pick is Vikram Solar. Then we have a tie for second place between Patel Retail and Shri Shipping. And in the third spot, we have Jem Aromatics. So why is Vikram Solar number one? The reasoning is pretty straightforward. First, it's in a high-growth, really attractive industry. Second, it has that very strong order book we talked about. And third, on a practical note, because the issue size is so large, your chances of actually getting an allotment of shares are just plain higher than in the smaller IPOs. But hang on, before you run off, there's one final crucial piece of advice that applies to every single one of these IPOs. You could call it the golden rule for this IPO season.
Ultimately, the expert's single most important piece of advice is this: manage your expectations. While all four are definitely worth considering, none of them seem to be priced for that blockbuster day one pop. So maybe the right question isn't which IPO will make me the most money tomorrow, but rather which of these solid companies is the right fit for my portfolio for years to come.